going live. And yes, we are live. I'm here with my friend Michael. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing very well, David. How are you doing? How is sunny Canada?
Yeah, well, yeah, your use of sarcasm is duly noted. It's okay. It's okay. I'm indoors, so the indoor temperature is nice. But yeah, I'm all excited to talk to you about prog, and hopefully your brother will show up because he has one of my favorite albums. Is it in the room with you? Is the album in the room with you?
No, the cover's on a guitar, but the album isn't actually in the room with me.
I know, but you have the cover. You could go over and flash it on the screen. There's no copyright violation for that.
Well, I couldn't because my phone is what my camera is, and it's connected by a 3 foot or 2 foot cord.
Okay. But you have like you came prepared. You have notes. You have an order. You're gonna go through things. You've paired things up according to some criteria. So this is exciting. Let's jump into it. We have a lot of ground to cover here, and we only have 6 hours. So let's go. Let's start. I'm kidding. We have
But we
one
only have
hour.
one
We
hour.
have
Like,
1 hour. We
yeah,
have one hour.
we have a hard out. We have a hard out, man. All right, so I first started because it's always an interesting topic to me. What is prog? Because I believe no one agrees on this. So first gave David Script for a Jester's Tear, followed by Us and Them from Pink Floyd. And the reason is because Script for a Jester's Tear has this line, yet another emotional suicide, overdosed on sentiment and pride. That like the Fish, when he's writing these lyrics, he perfectly captures what I believe prog is. It's this like juvenile, like my feelings are so amazing and beyond everything else that no one has ever felt this before. This like way overemphasis and delving into in just losing yourself in a kind of Dionysian sense of feelings.
Agreed, 100%. And the more dramatic, the better for me. That's why Peter Hamill and Van der Graaf Generator's number one will always be number one for me because of the theatrics, the melodrama. It's literally melodrama because melos means music, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I love. I love the drama, and I love, as I mentioned in a tweet a while ago, if I'm not cringing just a little bit, it's not true prog. It has to be cringy. It has to be slightly uncomfortable, at times at least.
Yeah, you sent me Van der Graaf God Love, and that was the last one I listened to because that was the last one you had on the list for me. I'm not sure if you sent another album because I have one unavailable video, but I thought that was by far the best track or album you sent me. Like
Cool.
when I was done listening to it, I wanted to listen to it again.
Cool.
And that's one of the signs of a good track. I hit Scorched like 3 times this morning. Was that the song? Let me check my notes. Yeah, Scorched Earth.
Cool.
I thought that was actually the exact correct way to do progressive rock, in that you had a theme that was presented and was built upon, rather than some other stuff like, for example, Gnin.
Gnitterlog.
Lady Lake. There's a song in that track in that album that I'm listening to, is going like, where's the adult in the room to tell him to stop? Like, progressive rock has this issue that it's like, I've got these feelings and they're everywhere and it's great and I'm just going to keep going. And then that's why, though, I put Us and Them on the playlist for you, because Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, even though I don't consider Pink Floyd prog, it's actually one of the best produced musics that I've heard. Because instead of like going on and on like a lot of the earlier stuff, Pink Floyd, I'm a bit of a Pink Floyd fan. In high school, that was the main group I listened to. Dark Side of the Moon actually is a much more tame music for Pink Floyd, in that there's a producer who didn't let them dabble on. Excuse me. So like in a different track or album, they have a Louder Than Words, and it's just like extra tracks they didn't use for High Hopes. Oh no, for the album Division Bell. And that's unlistenable. It's unlistenable rot that should be deleted. Because these guys, they're like, I'm making music. I'll just keep on going. I'll just keep going. Maybe this 4-minute song needs to be 14 minutes. It's like, no, just stop. You can't always make a 20-minute epic song every time you sit down to play music.
Yeah, well, some of my favorite prog tunes are like, under a minute or under 2 minutes. And to me, it's not about the length. You know, size matters, but not in every situation. You know, so it's about to me, it's about the creativity. And prog originally, you know, we could try to figure out what the word prog means or what that genre is, but it was it was initially called underground. That was what it was called. It was like it was something that was sort of niche and creative and a little bit countercultural, because the music of the day, which I also love, was more dominated by the psychedelic ethos, and I love that. And there is a lot of psychedelic in your playlist and in my playlist. It's mixed in with prog, just like every other genre is sort of blended in, borrowed, and they bring it into prog. So I love that.
Yeah, so I wanted to go over your first album you sent me, which is Music from the Body from 1970 by Ron Geeson and Roger Waters. Um, there was like about 2 minutes worth of music and 42 minutes of album. The rest of it should have been deleted, burned, and thrown away. Uh, Roger Waters cannot write music. People do not get this about Roger Waters. He says the same thing in every single song he's ever written. He's always angry about something. He's always mad. He always has the same rhythmic idea in every single song he's written from 1970 to the whole decade. And then like he just gets invited to do stuff, and every time he touches it, it's awful, and I can tell it's him who's doing it. It's just like with Beethoven. Every time Beethoven wrote a note, if you know Beethoven, you can understand every note he writes. Same thing with Roger Waters. Roger Waters is a terrible musician. I hate him. I love Pink Floyd, and sometimes his anger is justified, but you can't just be like, oh, and then Modern World didn't give me everything I wanted. It's so bad.
I agree with you. You know, I mean, I do. No, I do like him. I do like him, but I always resented that he took the lead after Sid Barrett. You know, the Sid Barrett era was my favorite, and you know, I felt like David Gilmour was underappreciated, and I saw them live actually once, only once,
Really?
but yeah, I saw them live in the '80s, and you know, I was never a huge fan of Roger Waters. He's just something about him. But I do, you know, I do like the guy. I think he is talented, and I think he's got a lot of personality. Obviously, like he dominated
Mm-hmm.
Pink Floyd. Like he dominated so much. But that's part of the reason I didn't really like him, because he dominated so much. But yeah, just the vibe and the sound. I have a couple of his solo albums. I have the Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking. Do you know that?
Oh my gosh.
You would hate it. You would
These
hate it.
are the pros and cons of
Oh, you know it. Oh, you do
hitchhiking.
know it.
That's the rhythm. And I know that rhythm because that was such a bad rhythm. These are the pros and cons of hitchhiking. It's like a child's music. You could put that in 7/4 time. You could like syncopate it. You could do something. And he's like, no, 4/4. Everything is just 4/4 with a dotted quarter note. It's true. He does the same exact thing all the time in his music. And a lot of musicians, because I'm actually a musician, so that's actually, I'm a composer by hobby. A lot of people who write music don't understand how to compose because they're performers. It's a
Mm,
different art altogether. Performers
yeah.
is a completely different genre of music. So he's a performer, not a composer. So his performance is probably fantastic, but his composing is terrible. But in the actual music from the body, I thought Roger Waters like offered nothing
Yeah.
to the actual tracks. Ron
Yeah.
Gleason is doing some
Yeah.
insane ambient stuff 40 years before it's like before ASMR even existed. He's doing ASMR 40 years in advance. And I'm listening to going like this could have been released. Some of the tracks could have been released last year,
Yeah.
and then some of the tracks are so bad I can't listen to them. I did, but I can't.
Yeah. I find it like it's a juxtaposition that just doesn't work. It's never this like chalk and cheese. They should not have gone together. But did you know that Ron Geeson was responsible largely for the Adam Hart Mother album? Did you not?
No, I didn't look that deep into it.
No, but
Adam Art
do
Mother
you know Adam Hart
has
Mother? Do you like it?
that has that has echoes in it, right? Isn't that the second half
No,
of that?
that's metal, I
Or is
think.
that
That's metal, I
metal?
think.
I've
It's
listened to Adam Hart Mother, but I don't remember it.
it's that orchestrated um, classical music side B. If
Yeah,
I'm
because I
remembering correctly,
noticed
it's been a while.
I noticed in Music from the Body there was some Stravinsky in it. Something that sounded like someone had been to university and learned to write 1920s edgy symphonic music, which is really weird because that actually crops up a lot in British music, not in American music. It's one of the big differences. But you're going along, and all of a sudden I'm hearing this like this really sounds like Stravinsky. Well, I know that's not Waters
No, it's skis.
because that doesn't appear anywhere else. And it's like, oh wow. So it's like, oh wow, that was experimental off like to the nth degree. I'm nutty.
Beautiful. So just give it a score, 1 to 10 or whatever.
I gave it a 3.
Oh, but the tracks you liked, would you give the tracks you liked a higher score than 3? If it
Okay, so
averages
the
to 3.
best tracks was the Four Dwarves in the Venus Land. I do not know why, but that thing made me laugh so hard. I've never felt music that was like so had 3 or 4 competing ideas in my head that I had to laugh. Unbelievable.
Amazing. Moving on. We have to move on here.
Okay,
I
let's go
love it,
back
by
to
the way.
my
I
list.
love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. But it's all about Ron Giesen, so I'll give it a
Yeah.
like probably a 9 out of 10.
What do you give it?
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. Wow.
Love it.
So I posted a King Crimson Moonchild
Yeah.
because the song, it just kind of sits there and doesn't do anything. But I don't know why, but I love the song.
Do you like the first couple of minutes, or you like the meandering experimental stuff?
Well, I kind of stopped listening to it about 6 minutes in, so it's like half and half.
Oh, okay. Okay. It's a beautiful song. Very beautiful song. King Crimson in general, I really admire them, and I the stuff that I really like. But some of their stuff, not that song obviously, but some of their stuff is a little bit too heavy in terms of rock. You know, that sort of heavy rock sort of sound.
Really?
Like a little bit too aggressive, a little bit sometimes.
But you think a Vander Graph generator is the best,
Yeah.
and I find them really heavy. Like
Yeah,
for
well,
prog.
that's a particularly heavy album that I sent you, God Bluff. Their earlier stuff was more psychedelic.
Mm.
You should check them out. But yeah, there's definitely a very heavy element to Van der Graaf Generator for sure. It's got that edge, but what keeps me there with them is, you know, the guitar is understated if it's there at all. And, you know, well, no, I shouldn't say that, but it's not the star. It's not the main reason. It's not the driving force of the band. With a lot of my prog acts that I like, the guitar is just one instrument among many used, you know, as an instrument, but not dominating as it is in classic rock or pop rock or heavy metal, these sorts of things. So yeah, I like an organ driven band, or I like a lot of saxophone in my music and stuff like that. But with King Crimson, it was so experimental and so creative. I really love that. But sometimes I felt a little bit like it was heavy in a way that didn't quite sit well with me.
Yeah, I really like the way King Crimson puts their lyrics though.
Yeah.
A lot of these prog groups, they try to sing with the music and the
Right.
vocals just aren't loud enough. Like you can
Yeah.
even take that to a Genesis, which we'll get to later. I
Mm.
want to hear just how much you hate Genesis.
Ha, 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 ha.
But in Moonchild, it's like whenever he sings, everything quiets down for him to sing. And then like
Amazing.
they have enough space in the music to hear all the sounds. And sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing, but I just really like that when he's I don't know, I just love the presentation of the lyrics in Moonchild.
Yeah, and I have to say that I'm very fussy about vocals. I like certain types of vocals. Like Peter Hamill, you can criticize his vocals, but it's the energy, the drama that he brings. And I happen to think he's a good singer too. But I don't mind if it's a little bit frenetic and frayed because of the emotion. But you know, when it comes to King Crimson, I love. I don't even know the name of the guy who sings. Who's the vocalist in that?
Isn't it like?
I know. No, is it Greg Lake?
Which one?
No,
Well, people from King Crimson make Emerson, Lake and Palmer afterwards.
Greg
Like
Lake.
half of them are. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I'd have to
vocals are
actually
very important to me, and I do like the vocals. I should be able to Google who's the lead singer of King Crimson.
quick! Do live stream or do the research online. Well, I love how the King Crimson's members is like 500 people.
Yeah,
spin-offs. Yeah, they have the ELP. They have Greg Lake, and it's Court of the Crimson King. Yeah, the first incarnation. Fripp, Giles, Lake, McDonald, Seinfeld.
I know Fripp. He's famous.
I just love how they have like 2 and 3 dozen really good musicians, and they're hopping around making all this cool music.
Yeah.
It's a great era of music.
I want to give a quick shout out to Phil Gonzalez. I'm going to be interviewing him after this episode, and my friend B Cato's in the live chat, and Pootis Bird. So a shout out to you, all male audience so far. As is appropriate in the prog world. So yeah, the Moonchild, I love it. What's next on the list?
So Soft Machine, third, 1970.
Did you give that a listen at all?
Yeah, I listened to that whole thing, and it's not prog, it's jazz. They're like the first song that was prog was a half an hour in, like Moon and June.
Yeah,
I like jazz a little bit, but
okay. It was too much.
It's one of these things where it's like it's just too much jazz. There's a are you familiar with Hiromi Uehara?
No.
She's a Japanese jazz artist, and she's like a 12-minute song that a friend sent me once, and it just goes on, and it's just jazz, jazz, jazz.
Your hands get tired after a while, like
yes, it's just so much of it. I mean, it's fantastic music and all, but like
I regretted sending you the third album as soon as I sent it. The only reason I sent it is because their first 2 albums were more psychedelic, and I kind of wanted to, it's acclaimed as a prog masterpiece, like one of the greats, all-time greats of prog. But it is definitely who's Pori-Jay? He's just joined the call.
I don't know.
Companion. Don't use companion mode, Pori-Jay. Who is Pori-Jay? That must be your brother.
Well, I only sent the link to him unless...
Yeah, okay. I didn't share it with anyone. So, Pori-Jay, get out of companion mode. Remove from the call. Tell him, message him.
Yeah, that's definitely my brother.
Yeah, tell him that I'm booting him out, but he has to come back not in companion mode.
Don't use companion mode.
Just join.
Just join. That's definitely my brother.
Cool. How old is he?
Oh, he's like 4 years younger than me,
okay.
And I'm like ancient.
Cool.
So he's pretty much a dad as well. The one thing I like about it, which is it's a love-hate relationship, is how musicians in the 70s or so would oftentimes use they're just sitting there on the machine.
Hey, Pori-Jay, how you doing?
Why are you Pori-Jay? Aren't you supposed to be troublesome Corsair? Like I'm Sede Picante? Do you hear us?
Can we hear you?
No, we can't hear him.
We can't hear him. We're gonna need an extra hour to accommodate all the technical difficulties.
It's not working yet.
Keep trying. Keep trying. What's his real name? Does he want to use his real first name? Or give him a nickname. I want to say something to him.
Just say troublesome Corsair.
Troublesome Corsair. You can hear us, Pori-Jay? Check your settings. Check your settings at the bottom by the hang up sign, red symbol. There's 3 vertical dots. You click on that. Settings, audio settings. Check your mic.
Yeah. He was late to join. This is what always happens.
Is he in the same building? You look like you're in the same building.
No, he's in a different building. Okay. We're on the same internet, but we're in a different building.
Okay.
Should I just continue going on?
Yeah, just continue. Just ignore the Pori-Jay.
So, Transatlantic, The Whirlwind is the greatest album of all time.
You said that to annoy your brother?
No, it is. It is the greatest album of all time. It's the only album that I think has no problems in it. At all.
Oh.
And I want you to disagree with me because it's the only album where I can drop it anywhere in the entire hour and 20 minutes and be completely happy and fine. Every other album, I'm like, I like this song more. Like, there's no song that's so good that it's the only place I go to, and
Ah.
that's why I like it.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, you told me you like the continuity of it. You told me that in a prior discussion. Same face, brother, no doubt. So, what's up with his microphone? We might need to
I have
check the
no idea.
settings.
I don't know why he doesn't know how to check the settings. You just got to go. Well, he's got all sorts of. He has a whole streaming setup that he records
Okay,
in house.
let him figure it out. He'll figure it out. Just ignore all his
Yeah, yeah. We'll
gesticulations.
just ignore him.
Just
We'll just ignore that. This is the way my
gesticulations.
family communicates.
We got it. We got to keep going on here. So, did you want me to give my feedback on?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh, here we
I
go.
want
I
you
think I
to
heard
know.
something.
Is that?
Yeah.
Is it true?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh wow. Okay, okay.
Wow.
Is it quiet? Put it up louder.
Sounds good.
No, it's good. It's good.
Okay.
Sounds good. Wow.
So, Pori-Jay, Transatlantic is the greatest album of all time. We need to convince David that it is.
We need to what? Convince who?
David.
Oh,
I'm David.
hello.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you, David.
Yeah, center yourself on the screen a little bit. There you go.
That's better. But then you can't see my keyboards.
Oh. Wow.
He might actually play prog. I just listen.
I have
Cool.
this thing too.
Cool. Wow. What is that?
Yeah.
The Trigon 6. It's from Sequential. You know, the Prophet 5 that they use on a lot of albums back in the 70s. This is one of their newest synths, the Trigon.
No
It's like a
way.
memory Moog. So it's got the 3 oscillators and it's polyphonic instead of the one note at a time business.
Wow.
So really cool.
Cool. Can you name some 70s acts that used the first gen, second gen of that?
No.
Okay. Very cool.
No.
Well, let's keep going with the flow here, and you're gonna both contribute to the discussion, obviously. But we want to get through these albums. By the way, Pori-Jay, if you don't, is that what you want me to call you?
It's porridge for short. That's what you eat for breakfast.
Okay. So, did you listen to the 8 albums on my playlist, or at least sample them, or were you aware of them already?
Was that homework? Was that mandatory?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, God. I thought it was optional.
Oh.
I did already know a few of them.
Oh, okay.
Let me refresh my memory on what exactly those were.
Okay. Well, meantime,
because I knew at least 3 or 4 of them.
Okay.
Sound Machine third,
Soft
which
Machine.
I just got into. Yes, Soft Machine. A couple weeks ago, actually. I had an epiphany with the album because it's just noise. It's just a bunch of delay. But I finally understood what they're doing. So there's a revelation in that one. Acquiring the Taste, of course,
you like that?
Gentle Giant. Oh, it's my favorite Gentle Giant album.
No way. I got the shirt.
Yes, I think from the first one to Freehand, is Octopus maybe a little overrated,
Okay.
but Acquiring the Taste, that's the one.
Cool.
And then Von der Graaf Generator, God Bluff.
Yeah.
That one I do know.
You know all their stuff?
Not all the Von der Graaf. I'm there.
Too much for you?
I have to kind of ease into it. You get into Genesis, and then from Genesis into Peter Gabriel, and Peter Gabriel works with Peter Hamill a little bit in the Exposure thing.
Really?
So he does a version of the same song that appears on Peter Gabriel's second album. So then you get into Peter Hamill stuff, and then you get into Von der Graaf Generator. And by this time, you're already going into the darker side of prog, into Discipline and King Crimson. So I think that Peter Hamill is hilarious when he really does the songs like The Arrow or Killer. Killer is off of the H album. I don't know what it's called.
Hydrogen to Helium, He Who Am the Only One, or whatever.
I think it's a song about a killer whale, and when she gives birth to the baby, the new killer, she dies. But it's hilarious the way he delivers his vocal lines. I think he's a great poet. So there's these few songs that I can. Mainly there's those 2 Von der Graaf songs, but I don't really. They're one of those bands that I hate. But I keep around because I know that I'm missing something about them. As soon as I unlock them, like I did for Gentle Giant, then I'll start to appreciate their
Yeah.
music. Because before that moment, it's all just noise and it doesn't make
Right.
any sense. As
Yeah.
soon as I make sense of it, then I know what the band is all about. And I'm just waiting for that moment to happen with Von de Graaff Generator and all the rest of them, really. But
I'll pray for you. I'll be praying for you.
yeah, thank you.
Michael, I feel bad. I feel bad you're not saying it. I want you to talk.
No. My little brother is the reason I'm into any of this at all.
Okay.
I knew about Pink Floyd and the beginning of psychedelic before him, and that's the only thing I knew before him. Like I'm like, oh, what about this Genesis stuff? And he's like, yeah, I've listened to all of it. Here's the ones you should listen to. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm a top 10 person. I don't like go deep.
Hey,
But so
yeah, go ahead.
the
Go ahead.
next album that we're looking at, because I really want to get your opinion on the Whirlwind. Mr.
I don't like
Ross.
it. I don't like it because it's like this contemporary prog, which is so polished and so perfect. And I interviewed Steve Babb or whatever his name is from Glass Hammer on my podcast, and he's a sweet guy and he's Christian actually. And but I leveled a sort of mild critique at him. I said I like '70s prog because it's a bit more sloppy, and your stuff is good, but it's too good. And that's why I don't like modern day contemporary prog, because it's just too polished, it's too good, overproduced, and everything else. And I want to see some sloppiness and some chaos that's not just calculated chaos. And he said, yeah, well, it's a tendency I have, perfectionist, and I'm aware of that. I may have gone too far sometimes, and we try to loosen it up here and there and whatever. So at least he was aware of it. But that's why I can't listen to contemporary prog. It just annoys me.
How do you like Glass Hammer?
I'm not a huge fan. Not a huge fan.
Not a huge fan. There's this great track. It's the only Glass Hammer track I've found. It's called "The Past Is Past."
Okay, I'll check it out.
That one. That's the track. And usually it starts with prog albums that you don't like. You find the one track you do, and then eventually you get too lazy to keep on pressing the repeat button,
Yeah.
and so it goes on, and then you start listening to the rest of it, and slowly you get introduced to it. I think it's track 4 off of this of the Cosmonaut album.
Okay, I own a lot of their stuff because I bought a bunch of their stuff. I have this new thing with music. My relationship with music suffered when suddenly pirating and there was free music everywhere, and I just lost my taste for music. So what I discovered recently is if you pay for music, you appreciate it more, and you'll actually listen to it even though you hate it, and then you grow to love it.
That's true. You're more invested financially, and
for me personally, it works like that.
So I wanted to bring the conversation a little bit more to Gentle Giant on acquiring the taste, because I have a criticism for this album.
Yes.
And that is that every single song is the same song.
No.
Every single song has a bass line that works in a very similar syncopated manner. And it's like in every single song. Like I was just, because that's one of the things I listen for as a composer is when I'm repeating myself. And so this is one of the reasons why I only give this album a 7 out of 10 is I just felt like while there's a lot of really good points to make about this acquiring the taste, including Black Cat, which is a really interesting little interlude that I was very curious about because I listened to it a few times, because it's just like a 2.5-minute track that just like breaks up the album, but it's really well composed. Like it has its theme, it repeats a theme, and it repeats a theme, and it ends. Like it didn't like dabble on like a lot of other stuff that goes on.
Point taken. Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing with Gentle Giant is actually I discovered them recently. I included them because it's like one of the few prog bands that I've discovered recently, even though they're old, that I actually really like. And I have this idea that it's exciting. Like I might be able to fall in love with them the way I've fallen in love with a few of my favorites. Because I got into prog in my adolescence, my troubled youth in my adolescence, and I was just lonely and horny and alone in my room, which I had painted black, and listening to prog from the 70s. Because I happened to walk into a record store looking for music from a record player that I bought, and the guys there were all into 70s prog, especially a Canterbury scene. Caravan, I really got into them, and different. Well, it's all British, basically British prog. I also like Gong. I want to talk about them a little bit later. But anyway, I want to watch Michael's reaction to that Gong album that I sent him. Anyway,
did you listen to Gong at all, Phil?
A Gong is on my list to investigate, and it's up at the top of the list because I used to work as a sound technician at the T-Bar, the local venue here in the village, and I made pretty good friends with this other keyboardist guy who has a similar setup to this. Um, but he has another stack of keyboards in front of him to have that kind of owl position, and a bunch of the same gear. And he always goes over to my laptop where I have the house music being piped in between sets, and the in between, and he always mentions gong. Gong. He looks for gong. Where is it? Where is it? I haven't gotten to it. So I'm always telling him I'll investigate it soon. But it's still, I move like a tortoise. When it comes to incorporating new prog things, because by the time it's something new, I'm gonna listen back to my old friends that I haven't listened to in the past 3 months. My library is so small, and I have to go through it over and over again. And it's only, on the fifth time around that you decide to bring on board more albums, more new stuff. It takes a long, long time to grab more new things, because I know all of my whole library of things inside and out. Um, so
Yeah.
so when I look at like albums like Acquiring the Taste, and the track list, there's a house, a street, a room, and then there's the song Wreck, like the shipwreck. And there's in each of those songs there's a guitar solo in that one. And that's when, if you call this kind of music progressive rock, the rock part of it is from Gentle Giant, because I don't think there's a progressive rock that rocks as hard as Gentle Giant, but sparingly, only a little bit. So if you're more of an AC/DC person, it's kind of an olive branch to the people who likes more straight ahead rock. But they won't leave you there, not even for a minute. They'll bring you back into the experimental wild stuff. And it's that incorporation of straight ahead rock and these interesting lines that kind of weave its way through it. That's the drawing. I don't know what gong is about.
Oh my gosh!
I don't
No,
even know. I don't have
it's
the faintest
garbage.
idea what it is.
It's
Yeah.
literal garbage.
But my friend from the
Okay.
T-Bar likes them, so I have to give them a try.
Okay, so for 2.5 minutes, it's how high in the sky do you see? Come to Earth, oh cup of tea, a flying saucer, flying teacup from outer space, flying teapot. That's of course a reference to the 1920s spaghetti monster idea that there's this atheism and that everything's just this like magical little world of fairy tales. And by the way, we repeat that chorus 5 times. And then we go into a hook where it says flying saucer, flying teacup from outer space, flying teapot. And we repeat that four times. And then we repeat the repeat of 4 times 2 more times. This guy can't write music to save his life. He's repeating. It's like he did a challenge to write like 11 minutes of music using 8 words for the entire vocal set.
Isn't it presented in a humorous way, though?
Yeah, of course.
Because that's a very key part of British music, is that quirky British humor to it.
And there's another component. Like, I mean, I'm not defending it from a Catholic point of view. I'm just saying that it's stoner music. I'm not a stoner, but it's stoner music.
Yes, this is it. This is it. This is the point. If some of this music, I feel you have to be stoned to listen to. I feel like if you listen to Van der Graaf stoned, you would never stop listening to it. You would just be vibing to it. Just you.
I don't condone the use of marijuana, even though it's legal here and it might be legal where you are. I don't condone the use of it. I think it's a very, very hard drug, and it's like a gateway to the demons. But and I don't enjoy it either. Frankly, I've tried it. I don't enjoy it. But and I don't think you need it. I'm a very sensitive soul. I don't need drugs to appreciate music and to trip out. And but there is something to psychedelia. The whole point of it is to trip out. And I'm just naturally high anyway, just because I'm a bit loony. But so I'm not condoning the lifestyle dropout and whatever with the drugs and all that sort of stuff, much less the sexual license. But I like tripping. I like traveling. I like escapism. I like escaping into the world of music. And I like, same reason I like reading fiction, although I haven't been reading fiction since I became a Christian. But I like escapism.
The part of the problem I had with this is that this music, it sounds like it's unprofessional and forcing it, and it's trying to be satirical, and it just didn't work. I think if it was done better, type of deal, like if it was done more professionally, it would resonate with me. But instead, it only dissonates with me because all I'm getting out of it is that this guy needed to have a producer, and just to tell him, okay, calm down, buddy, calm down, and go back and write more words. Like it doesn't
Isn't
work.
this part of a series or a trilogy?
Yeah.
Is it like
Yeah. The Flying Teapot. I forget what the name of the series is, but yeah.
that?
Well,
That's a
I
bit
like it.
tricky. When it comes to prog things, there
Yeah.
it's so album orientated
Yeah.
music. I really dislike it when people pick out the best songs and take it there out of the context of the album. Like really any band off this list probably. If you were to make a best of and then put it in front of somebody, I think that would be the wrong way to introduce somebody to like any prog band, because you have to the whole album is this statement, and not every album is called or labeled a concept album,
Yeah.
but in a way they all are, because it's like this time capsule of the work that they were doing at the time, and all of the songs are connected, as well as all the musicians performing it. So when you have, is this part one of the Teapot? This album? Because if this is a 3 album thing, I want to start from the beginning. Whether the second one or the third one is the better one,
Yeah.
you still have to start from
Yeah.
part one.
Yeah. I can't even remember off the top of my head which one I shared. I probably shared part one, but yeah, they're all good actually. I think. Well, Michael won't like them, but
Okay, let's go to track 1. Banana, Nirvana, Manana, you know. Banana, Nirvana, Manana, and I know. And now let's just keep repeating this.
let's
8
move on. Let's
times.
move on. We've got
Like,
give it a rating
who
out of
wrote
10.
this? Who wrote
Give it a
this?
rating out of 10 and we'll move on. We got a lot of ground to cover
4.
here.
4 out of 10.
Oh, you gave it 4.
It wasn't completely
You
bad.
gave Music in the Body 3. Music of the Body 3. So, what'd you think of that Porridge? Music from the Body. Quickly.
I didn't listen to that one.
Oh. But you will. You will. Put it on your list. Put it on your list.
Okay, because I do like that. What's that? Pink Floyd, Roger Waters, The Final Cut.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's anything like.
No, it's more like Adam Hart
music
Mother.
the-
Adam Hart Mother. You know the song by the same name, Adam Hart Mother, Pink Floyd.
Yes.
It's the same guy,
That
Ron
I-
Giesen. Ron Giesen. Okay, so you know that I don't know what you call it, classical music or whatever it is, that orchestrated stuff. That's Ron Giesen. So
Okay.
the
With all the
flavor.
orchestra and the choir and the.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yes,
Cool.
it's got that vibe, but a lot of mandolin, which I love. And anyway, you'll check it out. I don't want to dwell on this, but I love it.
So
Yes.
the next album, the song that I presented was Carnival 9 and With Third Impression
ELP.
from Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Yeah. The reason why I put this on the track is because it's very simple in certain aspects of it, that there's like a walking bass line, which is something reminiscent of jazz. But I just love that this sound is made by 3 people rather than like these larger groups. For example, like just some of the other stuff we looked at already. Their group is bigger and they have a larger sound. But ELP, it presents progressive rock in like a really, really specific, nerdy, jazzy influence way. But it's not like early prog like you had with your Soft Machine, where it's like so jazzy I can't get into it. There's actually a lot of melody lines in ELP.
Yeah, Porridge.
And there's some good singing. And Phil knows how to play this song, I think, right?
I did. I played it with my brother. He was the drummer, and I
Another
was.
brother, a different brother, this brother.
Yeah. Oh no, a different
Not
one.
me.
William. He's been a pro musician in Nashville, Tennessee right now.
Ooh, wow.
Unfortunately, he has to deal with the country influence there, but that's all right. But yeah, it was too difficult to learn. So what I did is I got some transcripts online, and then I took the chords of the left hand and assigned them to pads, these buttons on the top of the keyboard. And then I played along with the solo. So as I was doing the synth solo, I would do the organ chords by just pressing the buttons, but I would run out of buttons because there's so many chords. So then I would use my foot to step through the patch changes that would change the 8 buttons of what chords they would be. And so I would eventually get to the end of it, and I only was able to play it without messing up because I'm using my foot and both hands, maybe like once or twice. And one of those times was the actual performance, so it went over quite well. Um, and then we played a few Led Zeppelin songs otherwise too. But, yeah,
We're not doing Led Zeppelin though. This is a prog specific stream. What do you think about the LP, Mr. Ross?
I don't like it. I do like I do like Keith Emerson. He's a madman, and I like his project The Nice, which came before ELP. The Nice, it's quirkier, it's sillier, and it's got the amazing organ of Keith Emerson in it. Do you have any opinion about The Nice, Porridge?
Country Pie.
Okay.
Country Pie is there's like videos of it. You got to find the old black and white video on YouTube. I forget what the concert is, but that's when Keith Emerson is playing so fast and sweaty that it's like he's invented that head banging thing, but in slow motion. And his chords are so stabby and the organ is so crunchy. I love that sound. I remember we had an old Hammond that my brother Michael used to play in a more of a church choral setting. And I wanted that organ because it was a real one to sound like Keith Emerson's organ. So I opened up the back of it and started just changing any settings I possibly could. It probably was not good for the organ because I didn't know that you have to have an overdriven sound, you have to have a Leslie speaker, you have to have these other things, and the organ by itself, which had built-in speakers, is never going to get that sound. I think it was a Hammond like D model, which are kind of rare but built-in speakers inside of it. That was you don't see those often. But yeah, I do. I haven't. There's the thoughts of Emmerjack,
Emerlist, Babjack, yeah, which is a play on the
Yeah,
names of the members of the band.
right. But
I love that song. It brings me to tears. That one, "Lost Innocence." You know, it's amazing. It's amazing.
and then
Sorry,
there's,
Michael. I'm yeah, I didn't send you that one, but "The Nice" is one of my
oh,
favorites. But
I
so
think
yeah,
for Emerson, Lake and Palmer,
yeah.
their albums are all lopsided. So if you listen to Tarkus or you listen to Carnival 9, you'll get this half of the album that's really weird and impressive, and then the other ones that are kind of don't match with the other half of it. So I think Trilogy is the best album because it's most balanced. It's kind of got the same idea going from start to finish. So if you don't like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, you might try Trilogy because I
Okay.
think that's more the album to go with first.
Yeah, I don't like it because it doesn't sound like The Nice, and I just automatically thought it would sound like The Nice, but I find it a bit dense and murky. Like that's just sort of the vibe I get from it, and the vocals don't particularly appeal to me. But like you said with prog, you have to spend time with it. You really have to invest and spend the time. So I'll eventually get into it. Like I've been getting into, thanks to Michael, I've been getting into Genesis, one of my least favorite prog acts of all time. But we'll talk about that when it comes up.
Yeah, the next album we're looking at is Rock Bottom by Robert Wyatt
Oh,
in 1974. I love certain synths in this. There's a lot of mellow vibes and keyboards, and even the lyrics are pretty good. And then there's the singer just like making random sounds during the tracks for like some reason. There's a lot of noise in this album, and I thought there's a lot of backtracking that I'm not sure what it's going for. It's almost like as if it was imitating like a storm, and like there's like layers to this thing, and I'm not sure what's going on. And I thought that there were a lot of letdowns in this album, and I thought there was a lot of possible goodness that could have been out of Rock Bottom, and I ended up giving it a 5 out of 10 just because I felt like it had a lot of potential, and a lot of this music just needs to be worked on a little more, I think.
Porridge.
Did you listen to Rock Bottom, Porridge?
I did not, but I can tell by looking at the cover that it's probably got some kind of Soft Machine, Canterbury Scene,
Yeah, it's
Caravan
Robert
influence in
Wyatt
it.
from Soft Machine, the drummer
Oh,
Yeah,
of Soft
okay.
Machine.
so
The
in
drummer.
the final
Okay.
The drummer was the
track,
vocalist of Soft Machine. Yeah,
Was he?
yeah, yeah.
What did he have to have the microphone boomed in
I
from
guess so, but
the?
yeah, I always love it when the drummer's the singer of a band. I find that so cool. Like, bring some attention to that little guy back there.
Yeah.
It's
I
cool.
work with a band at that Jolly Bread out of Reno.
Ah, cool.
But yeah,
You
oh,
should
those
definitely check out all of Robert Wyatt's stuff. It's quirky, it's charming, and his voice is so falsetto all the time. It's really cute.
cool.
Surreal.
I just wanted to bring it back to the lyrics again
Yes.
because he uses this line, "Can you see them?" And I think he uses it in the last track. Oh, let's see, 1, 2, 10, 20, probably like 25 times.
Really
Well, about maybe a little
cool.
less. And it's like I get like when you're going for something as an artist, you got trying to get a feel for something, but like this, I'm trying to get the message across. So listen to me. This reminds me of Roger Waters being like actually putting bad words into songs because he's trying to make you feel a certain way. So it's like artistic. There's something about prog that is lacking in other genres, that you can have more artistic restraint and more musical expression. But then sometimes progressive rock people just decide that, oh, we're just going to throw that away and just be like normal. Let's just like everybody else. And that always just annoys the ever loving out of me. The next song that I had given you, going down the list, was Roundabout from Fragile. Is
Wait,
that Fragile?
song? What about just?
The
But
album.
I gave him songs. He gave me albums.
I listened to every album that you gave me a track from, though. That's the difference. Because I want the context, just like Porridge said. I want to put it in the context. I'm not just going to listen to a track off a prog album. Give me a break. So I purchased every album that you sent me, and I listened to them repeatedly, even though it was painful for me sometimes. But yes, I have a love-hate
Fragile
relationship with
is-
yes.
Fragile is painful if you don't have that whole content, because the cans and Brahms and the Tal the March or Tal the Moon or whatever, all those little weird quirky things in between the big main songs don't make any sense if you don't hear the door open at the beginning and close at the end of the album. It's this weird, it all happened in a room and the guy walks out at the end.
I
It's
love.
this sound effects is in the background.
I
It
do.
means something.
Yeah. I do love. I love the lead singer. What's his name?
John Anderson.
Yeah, I do love him. I think he's cute, sweet. And he's got that high pitched voice. There's something about prog where I prefer guys who sing with a higher voice, but not always, not exclusively. But I think he's a cute guy, and I like the lyrics, the sort of absurd lyrics that he writes, sort of surreal. And the music is definitely interesting. It's a little bit too much on the pop side, probably because I've heard a lot of the stuff on the radio. For example, the song you sent me, I've heard it on the radio, but it's an amazing, what I would consider a pop tune. Although on the album version, it's longer, but it's definitely prog, but it's definitely leaning towards pop, I would say, just because I heard it my whole life growing up. That's why I've avoided yes, because I'm aware of it, and I only want to find obscure stuff that no one's listening to, Hence the Gnitterlog. I don't know if Porridge checked out Gnitterlog or not, but
Oh yes, the Lady Lake album. I did not.
Oh, that's
No.
homework. That's homework for next time. But yeah, I
But-
would say that this Yes album was one of my favorites that you sent me. Yeah.
Did
So
you, not to bring it back to the Canterbury scene real quick,
Yeah.
but did you notice that the Soft Machine, I think the second track, has that same bit of music that's on For Girls Who Go Plump in the Night with Caravan,
Oh
A
no.
Hunting We Shall Go?
Oh no. Oh,
No,
okay.
you didn't know that. Oh, okay, that's interesting because
I'll check
I
that
was
out.
looking for, because somebody had talked about this before, that the relationship between Caravan and Soft Machine. Caravan nicked a section out of Soft Machines, and it's the big orchestra thing. They take it in a new place. They have a synth over it, whereas there was Soft Machines more saxophone.
Cool.
But it's the same musical sequence, and it's long and it's building and it's mounting until it all explodes into an explosion at the end of For Girls Who Go Plump in the Night. But it's the same bit of music in that different context, but that are still related.
Cool.
So if you listen to those two albums, they kind of go together because they have
Cool.
that common theme that goes through with them. I don't know if they share any band members. They probably did at some point, but yeah. But you have to
Very
check
cool.
that out because that's what makes me like Soft Machine, is because I already like Caravan.
Yeah. I do prefer Caravan to Soft Machine generally. But yeah. Anyway, back to you, Michael.
It's okay. So we have two more things to get through. Jethro Tull, A Passion Play. I put this on because I love the fact that this is actually just 3 songs and it's 44 minutes of music. And I love the fact that Jethro Tull just kind of like just goes on a minstrelly way, and it just keeps having more verses and more verses and more music. And as a musician, when I was one, not that I'm a real good musician or anything, um, it's amazing to me to be able to do that. And so it's just like it stands out in my head as like an example of what music could be if you had really talented people, rather than like these 4-minute songs. Oh, here I have a 44-minute song.
It's an accomplishment, yeah. My critique of Jethro Tull generally, and this album in particular, is just the sound. Like, I mean, it's just the sound. Like, I mean, it's a good sound, but it's just like I can only take it in small doses, really, because it's got too much folk, minstrelly folk edge to it. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like I don't mind straight up folk, but this sort of medieval minstrelly folk thing, I just find it a little bit too much for me. And don't get me wrong, I do like his voice, and I do like his compositions and his lyrics and the music and everything. I like everything about it. It's just not quite my cup of tea. So I'd much prefer King Crimson over Jethro Tull. I sort of put them together in that sort of like very popular prog, like stuff gets played on the radio by both bands. But my first introduction to prog was Pink Floyd. That was my first love, really, and then it was Jethro Tull, King Crimson. Then I started getting into other stuff, the Canterbury scene. But yeah, Jethro Tull, I love and respect them, but I have limited tolerance for listening to it.
Me too. I find the same thing. I've never listened to Passion Play from beginning to end. Never got through it. I'm tired of them after 10 minutes. Same as Stick with the Brick. I got past part one and I'm ready for it to be over. And I don't know what it is. Because I like the folksy part
Yeah,
of music too.
yeah,
But I don't know why I get tired of it quicker than because normally I have the patience to get through
yeah.
or listen to anything. I don't know if it's Ian Anderson's voice
Mm.
or how
Mm-hmm.
things are mixed or recorded, but what a chore it is, Jethro Tull. No, no.
Yeah, it's a
Uh,
bit of a chore.
okay, so now let's get to the final point, and the only reason we're doing this whole stream, and that's because you don't love Genesis. This is a great sin. If we cannot rectify this, we will never ever speak again.
I
So the
love I
first and
love
fifth,
Genesis. I love them. I just hate their
the first
music.
and fifth.
Just hate their music.
That's true. I hated them too.
Yeah.
Invisible Touch out. Abacab, the worst song ever.
Okay.
Illegal Alien, terrible.
You're talking
Calling
about the
all
recent stuff? You
stations.
talking about the recent stuff? Is that the joke?
Well,
Is
yeah.
that the joke?
Yeah.
But because of this guy, your brother, I am growing to like, selling England by the pound. It's like, wow, I'm kind of addicted to this. Like I'm listening to it as a penance, and then suddenly it's not a
Mm.
penance anymore. Now it's for pleasure. So now I got to go to confession because I'm enjoying the music too much.
One of the reasons why I like Genesis though is because they don't do the bad lyrics things. If anything, their lyrics are too much like a school assignment of like someone's like go back and rewrite them for the 400th time, and it's like too poetic.
Overworked.
It's overworked, but I enjoy overworked lyrics rather than underworked lyrics. My favorite line in all Genesis lyrics is he rides majestic past homes of men who care not or gaze with joy. That line is like a paragraph put into 2 lines. And just the ability to see that as a musician, when I hear that line, I'm like, I wish I could write that. Not like when I'm on a gondolin with the lady of the lake and we're like, same line, same line, same line. We're going to get them to think a certain thing, same line. It's like the other thing of forcing the music in is really big turnoff. And Genesis actually has the other problem where they're not grounded enough and they're not rock enough. So they're kind of boring.
Yeah.
But I like Genesis.
Yeah, it's like a big mushy porridge for me, the whole sound. I mean, it's not true. It's not true really because, I haven't spent the time with it. I need to spend the time with it because when I did spend time with it, I started to fall in love with it. So I know there's something there. I'm judging it by the standard of, the other music that I like, and that's what I tend to do, right? So I need to expand my vocabulary and just settle into it. And it is more subtle though. I mean, Genesis is more subtle, and the theatrics, I'm not buying it. Like I just don't buy it. I don't feel like it's sincere. I don't think Peter Gabriel is really a sensitive artist. I don't feel that way. I feel like he's kind of fake and phony, and he's just pretending to be deep and sensitive. I don't think he is. No offense to the man. I'm sure he's a wonderful man. But I went and bought like 4 of his solo albums, thinking, okay, maybe his solo stuff is is better, but I didn't like it. Other than his pop radio hits, the pop radio hits are amazing. That's why they're hits. But all the other stuff, it's like it's kind of uninspired to me. So not really my shtick, but you know, I have a soft spot in my heart for Phil Collins. I like the guy. I just if someone's bald, I just automatically like them.
What?
He only started being bald like in the late 80s, right?
That's when I started liking him.
Oh, okay.
No, but I do like him. I do like him. I think he's he's funny, you know, and he's the drummer. And
Well, usually for us prog lovers, Phil Collins is made out to be the villain.
Oh,
Because
really?
he took over for Peter Gabriel, and
Ah,
then the band went into a pop direction. So
yeah,
it must be Phil Collins's fault.
yeah, yeah.
It's
I
not.
do like pop music though. I do like pop. A good pop tune is there's nothing better. But yeah, I'm gonna like slowly start changing my tune on Genesis, maybe. But we didn't talk about Marillion yet. Marillion actually, they really surprised me because, you know, it's not quite prog. I guess it's neo prog, but I really do believe that he is sincere. That guy Fish, whatever his name was. I do believe his emotion. When I listen to him, it's like, yes, this is what I want from a vocalist in any prog group is I want
Yeah.
that. I want that.
That's why Genesis is such a bad group.
Yeah.
The vocals aren't powerful enough.
No.
Their drumming isn't rock enough, and the lyrics are too poetic. Versus Marillion, where it's like a lot more straightforward and rocky, much more like Van der Graaf than Genesis is. It's just like it's harder to get into some of it, and Marillion is really easy to get into.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's got that new wave edge to it, and you can feel a little bit that they've gone through punk, new wave is coming, or you know, it's kind of like and it's pop. It's definitely poppy. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
So
But
we have a hard out in 2 minutes, right? When's the hard out?
well, I think they're going to kick us off of the call because the three of us on the call are going to kick us off soon. If you have to leave, you can leave. I'll just talk with Porridge.
No, but I just thought we'd give final thoughts because I thought we were only going
We
for
can
1
give
hour,
we
right?
can give final thoughts. I do have another interview coming up, so we have a hard out soon. But yeah, I got another 15, 20 minutes if the thing will let us keep going. I wanted to hear Porridge's thoughts on Marillion, though.
Marillion is great. Even though they started early, much earlier than when they recorded their first studio album.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Because they have like Market Square Heroes tracks early on that didn't even make it to the album, because by that time they had already released some of their music as singles. So we think of them as an 80s band, but I don't know if they're more like a late 70s band.
Okay.
So they went through a few personnel changes, especially on the keyboard side of things, I think. But no, I like them. I think Fish, their frontman, is one of the great poets in the progosphere, along with Peter Hamill and Matthew Parmenter from Discipline, a Detroit band. So no, I like them. I tend to like keyboard-driven prog, and that seems to be the types of bands that Genesis and Marillion are. Not because they're keyboard heavy, but just all it takes is one person on keyboards to make it, to give it this background that a guitar can do stuff over. It's not like focused on the keyboards, but just you hold down a chord and that fills up the whole thing. So that's what it ends up being. Like Spock's Beard, I think is keyboard driven too. So I tend to like those types of bands rather than Rush, because they don't.
Right.
That's
way too heavy for me. That's way too much straight up rock and roll for me, for my taste. Or rock. I guess it's not rock and roll. It's rock. That's another distinction that I learned about recently. Rock and roll. I really don't like rock and roll, you know. But rock, you know, straight rock or classic rock, it's not really my thing either. And certainly heavy metal, heavy rock or whatever, that's not my thing. And Rush is way too heavy for me. Although I do appreciate the musicianship. I appreciate that they're Canadian. And that's another funny thing about Geddy Lee. He's Jewish, and two of my favorite bands are brothers who are both obviously Jewish. Gnitterlog has founded by two brothers who are Jews and they happen to be twins. And Gentle Giant is two Jewish brothers. So, what did you
Or
think of?
three,
Oh,
actually.
really?
There's a third brother who plays and sings on the first couple of
Oh, no
albums.
way.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
there was three
I
brothers
love
who
them.
came over from Simon Dupree and the Big Sound
Okay.
was their British invasion kind of 60s
Okay.
band
Oh,
that
okay.
then came to be Gentle Giant,
I
and they
love
wanted to do
watching
something more
Gentle
experimental.
Giant perform live because they're so silly. They're so full of joy and love,
That's the
and
way to get into them.
it's amazing,
If you
amazing.
gave them this like full album and then you just have the picture of this tongue hanging down as
Right,
like
right.
acquiring the taste and you're
No,
trying to listen to it, no,
no,
that's
no,
not the way.
no, no.
Most bands you find the videos of them playing live on YouTube so that you can see their energy and their
Yeah,
performance, and especially Gentle Giant, the way they switch off of instruments and they pick up
yeah,
a new one, and then one guy gets his cello and the
yeah,
other guy gets a trumpet,
yeah.
and that
It's
is part of
amazing.
the act, and it's so visual. And you miss out on that just listening to sound,
Of
you have to
course.
see them perform.
It's
And so
amazing.
after you're familiar with that, you can start to see how they in your imagination would play on the album and who's playing what, and they use like 3 or 4 vocalists and sometimes singing all together in harmony. So then you get to know each individual member and put them all together. But yeah, that has to come from watching the live videos. That's essential. The same with the way it was with Steve Hackett and his solo
Uh,
career. The guitarist for Genesis, the not the original guitarist, that was Anthony Phillips, but Steve Hackett, the one who was on most of the good albums. It's important to watch his 2 live performances. I think one is in Montreal and the other one is in, I don't know where else, but yes. Oh, that's the way to get into prog, I think, these days with YouTube. You
cool.
get a live version of something.
Yeah. Did you rank Gnitterlog Lady Lake for me, Michael? Did you give that a ranking for me? Did you listen to it? Did you enjoy any of the tracks? I can't remember if we talked
Uh,
about this or not.
I did. That one was a 7 out of 10.
Oh, wow, that's high praise from you.
Hmm.
Is that from all the 8 that I sent you? Is that the highest scoring one?
No, God Bluff got 10 out of 10. Scorched. I feel I could listen to Scorched Earth on repeat for an hour.
Cool.
Like,
Cool.
I don't know. There's just something about that song that's so good and rocky, but
Yeah,
it's got enough prog in it that I mean, I did listen to it 3 times this morning.
cool.
So
Very
so
cool.
yeah.
Check out their whole body of work. It's really is amazing, especially I think, the first 5 or so albums, 6 albums, really amazing. So yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention, because we do have a little bit of time here, is the sort of solo acts or spin-off acts. We're going to be kicked off in exactly 15 minutes, but I probably have to leave before that. Um, you know, Kevin Ayers. I wanted to talk to you about Kevin Ayers briefly. If you've heard any of his music, that was on your homework assignment, but you didn't listen to it. Um, and we talked about Robert Wyatt. There's Peter Hamill's solo work. Um, we talked about Peter Gabriel doing his solo work, and some of the collaborations that took place. And there's Matching Mole, which was Robert Wyatt's sort of project that he did after he left Soft Machine. And Machine Mole in French, that just means soft machine. So that's how he got away with that funny name. And then there's there are different groups. What's that other group that I like? There are many little sort of spin-off groups from the Canterbury scene, these sorts of things. So did you have anything to say about any of those groups? Do you know them, Michael? And Porridge, have you listened to any of the connected members projects that I've mentioned here?
Oh, quick, Porridge, take over.
Why, yes, of course. I listened to Imperial Zeppelin.
Okay.
See, this is why I was trying to invite him on the show, because I know if you went deep, I would have nothing.
I also wanted to mention the Italian group PFM.
Aha.
Freniata,
Now that I can
Fornero,
talk about.
Marconi. Yeah, you like them? I love them.
Oh, amazing. The best. Oh, this one time I was so surprised. I was a waiter back in 2010 at a local restaurant, and he was saying how he was there at the Relayer tour. This old guy, this old couple that was in the booth, and I was serving, and he went to he saw the Lamb Lies Down on Broadway from Genesis tour, and then he mentioned PFM. And there's this thing that came over me. I started to stutter and stammer so much because there's so many words I wanted to say at the same time that I couldn't say any of them. Because I've never met anyone who mentioned PFM before. And at the time, I was so big on their newer album, Distratti, the Pink album. It's from like 2000 something, but it has that 70s sound to it. But those guys are great, especially their first. I don't know if you skip one. But like Photos of Ghosts, I think Per un amico or something like
Yeah,
that.
Per un amico. That's the one I have two albums by them, Per un amico and Storia di un minuto.
Yes, those are the two main ones. I love those.
Love it.
Really
Love
good
it.
stuff.
Did you know Steve Hillage from Gong? He's a guitarist. He plays with electronics too, and he actually played with the Orb. You know the Orb, that famous
No.
sort of dance electronica group, the Orb.
Oh, no, I don't know.
Steve Hillage from Gong, and I think he played with a couple other bands in that scene. But check out Steve Hillage. He's like a guitar wizard. He does some really corny stuff, but like pretty corny, and a lot of new age teachings in his music, you know. But that doesn't bother me. But did you ever get into just name dropping here now? Camel at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Camel. First album, and then the second one, Moon Madness, Snow Goose. Snow Goose is their instrumental album.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any singing on it.
Yeah.
And I think that one's probably the best one. It takes you from this journey, and even though there's no words, there's something very vocal about it, almost as if you can put your own words to it. I find that that's how a lot of the music of Focus is. That's kind of related to prog, but they're Dutch.
I've
Jan
never heard
Akkerman
it.
and
I've
Dave
never
van
heard
Leer.
them, but I've been wanting to get into them. But someone warned me that they're a little bit heavy, maybe a little bit like straight ahead rock or something.
No. Only the later stuff. No, the Moving Waves, Focus 3, and Hamburger Concerto.
I'm thinking of Golden Earring.
Ah.
Are they more straight up rock?
Golden Earring?
I still haven't listened to this yet, but is it prog? Is it prog?
No idea.
Oh, you don't know them? Okay.
No.
I want to get into them maybe and Focus. Did you like East of Eden? Did you ever listen to East of Eden?
I've listened to The Banks of Eden by the Flower Kings.
Oh, no. Different act. It's a different act. What about Gilgamesh? They're instrumental, but very good. Gilgamesh.
Yes. I heard that was
organ driven.
Weirdly, I perusing. I was probably along the same lines of Goblin, Gilgamesh. Yes, I think I've heard that before.
I don't know. What about Hawkwind? They're well-known sort of space rock, stoner rock. You like them?
No? Hawkwind.
You don't like them?
Hawkwind. That's like that's fake imposter.
You don't like it? You don't like it?
No, I haven't given them an honest try yet. I couldn't say that they're good or bad yet. That would be unfair.
It's completely. I don't know if it's prog or not, but I grew up listening to them. What else have I got on my list here? This is just like my playlist of my stuff. I think that's pretty much it. Oh, someone told me that my prog sounds like they were trying to insult me. They said it sounded like Styx, so I went and bought a bunch of Styx albums. It's the worst music I've ever heard. Styx.
Yeah. No,
Have you heard that?
Weird.
It's disgusting.
That's weird. Anybody would say that anything you've said just sounds like Styx. That's not.
What is Styx? What kind of music is that? It's horrible.
Yes, it is. It is horrible. I don't know what it's the plague. Avoid
I
it.
I like Steve Winwood in Traffic.
I'm sure I've heard that name.
You should check it out. You should check it out for sure. What about the Bonzo Dog Band? You should check them out. They're a silly band. We're gonna get cut off at any minute, by the way.
Do you want a silly band? England.
Yeah.
England. Their album, The Garden Shed.
I haven't heard it, but it's on my list of things to check out.
Absolutely. That's the band that the keyboardist is telling me to check out. Gong. I play as we're cleaning up the band and putting all their stuff back into the truck after the gig. I put on England, and they love it to bits. They stopped working, disassembling all their instruments just to sit down inside the room and listen to England because they like it so much.
Wow, so cool. There's a band called The Forest. It's more of straight up folk, minstrel folk kind of stuff. Wasn't so much into them. But there's so many things to discover. Have you ever gone on to progarchives.com or whatever it is?
Oh, yes. That's
it's a great
where
resource.
I go on the top 50 whatever because I I get interested, like I just have a taste of prog, and the internet is so vast and there's already so many. I mean, you're a teenager in 2010 and you want more of prog and you don't know where to look or where to find it. You go on the forum boards. I remember going on the Yahoo Answers and asking, I just heard Close to the Edge. What is this kind of music? Give me more of it. And somebody gave me Supper's Ready from Genesis. But then you want more and more things because you're just starting out. So I found that forum then. You go on the top 50 lists that they have on there, and you have your own tastes.
Yeah.
And there's a certain consensus about what is the best albums, and actually they're pretty spot on.
Yeah.
The list of their top albums on that
Generally.
website.
Yeah.
Yes. I
And
think there's some that are really, really weird. Like, why is this rated so high? But then after 5 or 6 listens, I finally get it. And like, I know why it's rated so high.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
the
yeah.
harmonium stuff, the French Canadian
Oh yeah,
folksy
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's very
Why
folksy.
I didn't understand why there were, but then they're one of my top 10 favorites now.
It's definitely a little bit too accessible for my taste. It's not quite as challenging, but it's definitely nice, beautiful music and very interesting and rich and deep and yeah, lovely music. And being from Quebec, I'm very proud. Very proud of that. But it's amazing. Would you say that prog is up there in your list of genres that your favorite genres or no?
I don't listen to anything else.
Do you have any friends? That's the question. Do you have any friends in real life?
I make
That's
sure
not
to
related to you.
never.
That's not related to you.
I don't discuss any music with my friends.
Amazing meeting you. I hope you come back, Porridge, and I hope one day I get to learn your real name. Actually, you have to. Someone has to email me your real name because I enroll all of my guests in a perpetual mass. So, are you a practicing Catholic?
Yes.
Practicing? You go to church?
Yes, every day.
Oh, no way. Is he joking?
We live in the middle of nowhere. Come on. The closest church is 4 hours
That's what I would
away.
like my answer to be. But
I'm just asking, are you a sedevacantist? Yes or no? Are you a sedevacantist? Yes or no? It doesn't change my opinion of you. I'm just wondering.
Well, I've buried the answer somewhere in my upcoming album that references these matters of faith in a very cosmic way. So that album will probably be released at the end of the year, and so you'll have to buy it to get
Bring
my
out your
answer.
stuffed animal. This is a good time to bring out your stuffed animal, Michael. This is appropriate. This is when we need it. I need it. I need it.
No, it won't be. What?
Let your yes be yes and your no be no. But anyway, will you come back, Porridge, and come and just chat about faith and philosophy on my podcast? Just like not talking about music, just talking about you and your journey. Would you do that? Say yes, say yes, say yes.
I
say
would.
yes.
I would.
Just
It's
tell
just
them
that the
some
difficult
point in
thing
the
is
future.
is to talk about something that you're in the middle of.
Yeah.
After you've gotten through a good portion of it, you can kind of step back and take a bigger picture of what is going on and where you are. And I'm not able to. It's like things you hold and experience so deep inside yourself. It's hard to talk about the closer those things are because you live them and you feel them, and it's difficult to put them into words. So I'll come back and talk about those things, but probably after a good stretch of time where I can actually like put it into words. Because right now
I think you could do it.
I
I think
wouldn't
you
know
could
what
do
to
it.
say.
I think you could do it. No, no, no. I have lots of questions and you have lots to say. I'm sure. I have no doubt about it. And if worse comes to worse, we'll just talk about prog. So there's no harm, no foul.
Yeah.
So I have to let you guys go, but it's been great. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope, Michael, that you're not traumatized by music from the body. I'm so happy that you fell in love with Vandergraaf Generator, and I'm glad I got an average rating from you of about 7.5 or so if we average it all out, according to my math.
No. The average rating was like, at best, it was a 5.
Not
Most
bad.
of them
Not
were
bad.
below 5.
Not bad. But your 5 is a 7.5 in my world, so
Okay.
I'm Novus Ordo, man. So anyway,
You know,
take.
that actually gets me into trouble, by the way, that I associate with you.
Oh, you poor thing. Offer it up. No one gives me a hard
Well,
time that I associate with you. No one gives me a hard time. They just think you're hilarious. So.
Haley does. Haley gives you a hard time. She says, "Oh, it's my favorite atheist, scientific contest, Protestant." Ooh.
Is this what is this? Is this being recorded? Is this
This is
going up
live
on
streamed,
YouTube?
my friend.
Yeah,
This is
it's
live
live.
stream. You're live. Everyone knows that your
Um,
real name is Porridge. Everyone knows that now.
I disavow everything. I'm leaving. Goodbye.
Bye.